All right, guys, be honest. How crazy did you find today's trading in the market, right? Stocks, futures, Forex, everything just crumbled, right? Now, what I'm going to show you here in this video is how the ability to draw proper trend lines in any market, okay, stocks, futures, Forex, whatever you trade, the ability to draw a proper trend line, okay, is really going to help you capitalize on heavy trend days like we saw today. All right, so I'm going to show you how we drew this trend line to absolutely nail a giant move in the market today. Let's do it. All right, guys, it's Mark here at Dino Trading. Hope you're doing well, and let's get right into it. Market was definitely due for a pullback, and boy, did we get one today. All right. In fact, if we look at my proprietary Dino charts here, not once did you get a single green bar anywhere. Like, this is one of the most hardcore trends I've ever seen. Like, people were talking about this being the fourth largest sell-off in history, right? And it was a pretty big deal. If you were trading this morning, you knew exactly what I'm talking about. The volatility just skyrocketed today, right? So what I'm going to show you here in this video is how to participate in a trend if you've identified that the market is trending very hard, okay? And it's really simple. I mean, I'd be shocked if you couldn't grasp this concept in like 5 minutes, all right? All we're going to be doing is drawing a trend line in this fashion, what I like to call an upward sloping trend line, because we're looking for the trend line to get smashed to the downside, right? So in order to deploy this strategy, you do have to have a directional bias, right? In fact, after you finish watching this video, if you could do me a personal favor and just go to YouTube and type in breakout trading here and hit enter and try to find my thumbnail here. It's the bright neon green thumbnail. It says breakout trading strategy using only trend lines. Do me a favor and watch this video, because I spend a lot of time taking a deep dive on how to identify a trend line breakout. All right, so go ahead and watch that video of mine when you get a chance. I think you're going to glean a lot of value on how to properly use trend lines. But anyway, let's get back to business here, and I'm going to show you the good stuff. All right, so once you've identified a trend direction, and today was undoubtedly bearish, you were a seller today, or you got your head cut off, right? You were selling this market as fast and as often as you can. So the technique that I like to use, that you'll see in that other video there on breakout trading, is I like to go higher time frame and lower time frame, what I like to call master and slave, on my T-bar charts. Okay, so let me explain to you what I mean. The first thing that we have to do is we have to pop on every single pivot point. Now, you could do this manually. I don't like to do anything manually. I like to use my trend line automation tools, which you can see right here. So once you've identified the direction, you pop on the appropriate trend line drawing tool, right? So I'm going to pop on the shorts right now. I'm going to draw the trend lines. And when you hit OK, what you're going to notice is that blue dots get drawn on every single pivot point, right? And again, the only thing that we're doing with these blue dots, with any of these blue dots, is we are trying to draw a trend line like this. Makes sense? There should not be anything complicated about this, guys. This is a simple trend line strategy. All right, so we got quite a few pivot points and quite a few trend lines where the market tried to figure out what direction it wanted to go in. And here is the very last trend line. Can you see that? Which connects this pivot point with this pivot point, right? Now, here's the problem with just randomly going short on this trend line break. Okay, you know what the problem is? The problem is, if you try to go short here, well, where do you place your stop? Your stop's got to go all the way above at the most recent swing high. That's like 200 ticks away. That's a big stop, right? So let me show you a neat trick. This is what I like to do, okay? I like to open up another smaller T-bar chart. I call this the T-bar slave chart. That's why this technique is called T-bar master and T-bar slave. Higher time frame, smaller time frame. And watch this. I'm going to go back to the master, and I'm going to pop in this trend line into the slave with one click. All right, I'm just going to hit the drop down. I'm going to hit all charts like that. All right, and now if I go back to the slave, check that out. There's the trend line, right? So let's zoom in here. I'm going to show you something super neat. All right, let's really try to zoom in here. Okay, so when you're inside the slave chart, guys, this is where all the entries happen. You never well, I shouldn't say never. You almost never, like you 99% of the time, never take a trade in the master chart, right? The master chart just helps you with the direction. You always got to take your entries in the slave chart for no other reason other than it helps you limit your risk. We're talking really tight stops, right? So check this out, right? This is the smaller T-bar chart. Here's the trend line. It penetrates below the trend line right here. Let's zoom in, right? So we do the exact same thing that we did in the master, which is we capture and draw every single pivot point as best as we can, right? And what we want to do is we want to draw a trend line again in the short direction, which means you draw an upward sloping trend line just like that, right? So if you look here, let me zoom in here. Let's just really zoom in. You guys already know how this trade played out. So you can see that there's the dot and there's the dot. Those are two rising pivot points, which meets our criteria to draw a trend line in this fashion. You draw the trend line like that, the trade gets executed right here. The stop gets placed one tick above the swing high. You see that? So instead of having a 40 point, which is 200 ticks of a stop, right? Here the stop's only 5 points, 20 ticks. That's peanuts. For those of you guys that trade the NQ futures, you know that a 20 tick stop, which is 4 or 5 points, that is nothing. That's peanuts on the NQ. And this thing just dropped like a stone. It basically dropped almost 100 points immediately after the trend line broke. So what's the takeaway here, guys? The takeaway is that trend lines and trend line drawing tools are probably going to be the most powerful system of entering a trade without any indicators at all, right? Not once did you see me show you MACD or Bollinger Bands or any other garbage, right? All we are doing here is connecting a trend line, just like that. And you saw me draw it twice. So there were a grand total of 2 trend lines today, right? And if I scroll this to the left here, or to the right, excuse me, here's the entry that we got in. I mean, just look at the move, man. Look at this like 200, 300 point move. It's like over 1,000 ticks. That's the equivalent of 1,000 pips for you Forex traders, right? So there you have it. That's how you draw trend lines, and that's how you properly utilize my trendline automation drawing tools. Don't forget, there's all sorts of other automation tools that will complement the trendline automation tool, like the bot trader. So if you jump back over the slave, instead of manually doing what I just did, you just let the bot trader do it, right? So then you would also fire up the bot trader trendline shorts right there. Easy as pie, folks. All right. So hope you had a great day trading today. It was awesome. I think the volatility's back, and I'll see you on the next trade.